titigil ninuman. Maaabot lahat ng iyong inaasam. Kasipagan ng sagot, salat ka man sa kayamanan. Buksan ang pahina ng mga aklat ng karunungan. Edukasyon ating kailangan, kamamangan ating iwanan. Please!
Ating lilipanin ang himpapamilit.
Ating tanawin,
Bagong mga sa'y muling tatanawin.
kinabukasan pagbibayin. Pilitin mong gawin,
Puspos ang pagsisikap.
pag-asa ay yakapin. Edukasyon ang kayamanan ng kahit ninuman. Isang pangarap matutupad, pagsisikapan ng lahat.
Puspos ang pagsisikap.
Kaya mo yun, kaibigan.
Mabubuo isang
The COVID-19 pandemic has brought unprecedented changes to our usual ways of living. But the Department of Education remains unfazed by these challenges to fulfill the mission of Sulong Edukalidad, the rallying call for national effort to deliver quality basic education to all Filipinos, which involve aggressive reforms in the 4 key areas: the K-12 curriculum review and update, improving the learning environment, teachers upskilling and reskilling, and engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration to move forward together as we prepare the education system for the future. The call for Sulong Edukalidad will continue, and we have built the framework of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, or the BELCP, to put the needs of the learners at top priority. DepEd's BELCP is the major response and commitment to protect the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel. The plan aims to provide opportunities to continue education even in these trying times with a BELCP in place, supported by unprecedented number of diverse stakeholders from the academe, media, industry groups, NGOs, business and private individuals. Sulong Edukalidad will be able to sustain the aims in its reform for quality basic education. In our journey towards quality education, we have established the 4 pillars of aggressive reforms from the start, and we have been continuing to progress in these pillars. In improving the learning environment, we took action in the construction and rehabilitation of school buildings, ensured the availability of learning materials and equipment, and prioritized our last mile schools. The challenges of the pandemic also brought to light the urgent need to upgrade our ICT infrastructure to service the needs of education. In terms of the teachers upskilling and reskilling, we were able to establish more innovative professional standards for teachers and school heads. We have aligned the professional development of teachers with their career progression to track their development as part of the National Educators Academy of the Philippines transformation. With the launch of the Education Futures program, where we will be focusing on innovative actions and solutions to improve the state of our education, we are now more than ready to start a new journey and continue our fight for quality education for all Filipino learners. Finally, we've given high importance to the engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration. In support of this, we have convened the Philippine Forum for Accessible Quality Basic Education, or the Education Forum, which will leverage other partnerships for education quality and strengthen partnership with the Philippine Normal University as the country's national center for teacher education. The department has also been developing a professional development program for teachers and school leaders in order to equip them with the skills, materials, and data that will allow them to help their students prepare for PISA 2022. This intervention consists of the following components: online training for teachers and school leaders, development of learning materials and practice tests for students, deepening the analysis of the PISA 2018 results, and supporting school-level action research. Now that the year is about to end, our commitment to Sulong Edukalidad will continue and will be far from being gone. With a lot at stake, considering our new knowledge and experience from this year's challenges, we are equipped to face a new future. As we head on to the future where we will face many challenges and uncertainties, the department will always be the guardian of every Filipino learner's right to education.
A September to remember, an October full of splendor, and a November to treasure. Welcome back to DepEd Teaches. It's nice to see everyone doing well. Things have been tough for us these past few months since the pandemic has started, but we are so grateful that you are still with us, joining us every Thursday afternoon. We are able to sustain that level of energy and enthusiasm ever since we have started. It's November now, just 1 month away, and we will have our anniversary. Can you imagine that, our dear viewers? So just keep tuning in here on DepEd Teaches, DepEd Philippines Facebook page, DepEd YouTube channel, and DepEd Tayo. Last month, we just finished the theme about trends and innovations. And for this week, we will open a new theme. And I think it sounds exciting. So I would like to turn you over the screen to Ma'am Ana. So good afternoon, Ma'am Ana. What do we expect for these November episodes?
Pleasant afternoon, everyone. So good afternoon, Sir July. Yes, you are right. It's been 11 months that we've been journeying with us here on DepEd Teaches. And I'd like to commend everyone for your consistency. Your presence means a lot to us, and we hope we're able to help you in your professional growth. So for this month, we will still talk about teaching and learning in the new normal. But this time, we will focus our attention in different learning areas. So regions will share their initiatives and programs highlighting a particular discipline. Isn't it wonderful, Sir July? Because here in DepEd Teaches, definitely it's a good platform to learn and grow in a community where each is given the chance, the voice, and the opportunity to facilitate knowledge sharing. So the practices we will learn from a particular region might be adapted in your respective locality. So that's the beauty of this engagement that we will have every Thursday for this month of November. So everyone is welcome to listen, and everyone gets the chance to discover new ideas coming from none other than our instructional leaders. So again, for this month, our theme is teaching and learning in the new normal, strategies and initiatives across all learning areas. So Sir July, what's going to be our first topic under this theme?
Well, Ma'am Ana, in today's topic, it's going to be about two of my favorite subjects, math and science. I know some would say that math and science are too difficult to study, and some would say it's fun to do math and science. But one thing is for sure, and I hope everyone will agree that we can see math and science everywhere. There is math and science in our daily living. There is math and science behind the things that we do. And these two subjects are so important, but it's not easy to teach, especially during this time of remote distance learning. So we understand how challenging it must have been to our teachers teaching math and science in distance learning modalities.
I couldn't agree with you. I couldn't agree more, Sir July. Teaching math and science in modular distance learning or in blended distance learning seems really like a Herculean task. But our teachers, our leaders, they are very positive. As they say, it's not going to be a problem if there won't be any solution. So today we are blessed that our speaker will cite and will share concrete strategies and programs they have implemented for their region on how they teach math and science in the new normal. So we don't want to keep you waiting. Let's just proceed to our routine. Let's have our warm-up activity.
All right, so for this activity, we will call it the Mystery Scientist. So behind the picture puzzle, we give you some clues. And for every clue we say, we partially reveal a part of the picture of a scientist or mathematician. And once you figure out the answer, you can share it in our comment section. Is that clear? So again, to our viewers, you need to guess the scientist or mathematician behind each item. We will give 3 clues for each item, and after each clue, part of the picture of that scientist or mathematician will be revealed. And then you can share your answer in the comment section before we reveal the whole picture of that scientist or mathematician. Okay, so let's start the activity, Ma'am Ana.
All right, sounds good, Sir July. So we just want the names of the scientist or the mathematician. Okay, so let's show question number 1 for the first card, please. She is the first woman to win a Nobel Prize together with her husband and her friend Becquerel. She and her husband discovered the radioactive elements polonium and radium found in trace amounts in uranium ore. In 1911, she was awarded the Nobel Prize for Chemistry for the isolation of pure radium. Who do you think is the scientist behind this great discovery? So 30 seconds begin now. All right, so let's find out the answer. I guess most of our viewers know this scientist. I see a lot of answers in our comment section. Okay, so it's none other than Madame Marie Curie. So she won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1903 and Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1911. Madame Curie, she was a Polish-born French physicist, famous for her work on radioactivity and twice a winner of the Nobel Prize. Can you believe that? She was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, and she's the only woman to win the award in 2 different fields, physics and chemistry. So a few months later, after her discovery, Marie Curie died as a result of leukemia caused by the action of radiation. But then her contribution to physics had been immense.
Okay, so that's a good start, Ma'am Ana. And Marie Curie is one of the most prominent women in science, and her contribution laid the foundation of radioactivity and nuclear science. And by the way, even the notebooks she used during her experiments are still radioactive until today. All right, let's now move on to our second item. Okay, we can now show the first question for this second item. In his famous discovery, he used edible pea or pea plant to trace the transmission of hereditary characteristics in successive generations. Second clue, the results of his experiment was published in his paper entitled Experiments on Plant Hybrids. And third clue, he is regarded as the father of genetics. Okay, so we are giving now 30 seconds to you, our dear viewers, to key in your answers in our comment section. All right. So who do you think is this second scientist that we have? We can now reveal the answer. So the scientist we are referring here is Gregor Mendel. So Gregor Mendel is a botanist, a teacher, and an Augustinian prelate, the first person to lay the mathematical foundation of science of genetics in what came to be called Mendelism. And today, the gene is defined in several ways depending upon the nature of the investigation. And genetic material can be synthesized, manipulated, or hybridized with genetic material from other species. But to fully understand its function in a whole organism, an understanding of Mendelian inheritance is necessary. And as an architect of genetic experimental and statistical analysis, Gregor Mendel remains acknowledged as the father of genetics.
Sounds amazing, Sir July. The famous Gregor Mendel. Do you know, Sir July, that biology is actually my most favorite branch of science, and learning about genetics is an interesting topic. He's one of the scientists that I will never forget, and most of our viewers are actually able to get the correct answer. Okay, so let's continue this activity. Okay, so this time it's going to be mathematicians. Okay, so please show the third question. She is an Iranian mathematician who became the first woman and the first Iranian to be awarded a Fields Medal. While teenager, she won gold medals in the 1994 and 1995 International Mathematical Olympiads for high school students, attaining a perfect score in 1995. The citation for her award recognized her outstanding contributions to the dynamics and geometry of Riemann surfaces and their moduli spaces. Who do you think is the mathematician behind this picture? You have 30 seconds to share the correct answer. Okay, so let's find out who is this mathematician. Okay, so this is Maryam Mirzakhani. She's the first woman and the first Iranian to be awarded a Fields Medal. And as you know, Fields Medal, officially known as International Medal for Outstanding Discoveries in Mathematics. It's an award granted to between 2 and 4 mathematicians for outstanding or seminal research. And they say that the Fields Medal is often referred as the mathematical equivalent of the Nobel Prize. But it is granted only every 4 years and is given by tradition to mathematicians under the age of 40 rather than to more senior scholars. Maryam Mirzakhani was one of the greatest mathematicians of her generation because she made monumental contributions to the study of the dynamics and geometry of mathematical objects called Riemann surfaces. Her raw talent was very rare, even among the most celebrated mathematicians. She was known for having a taste for difficult problems.
Okay, Ma'am Ana, I think that's a new information for me, and I think the same for most of our viewers. And she's another proof that science and math can also be dominated by women because, as we know, science and math are fields of studies that are mostly occupied by males. Hence, in our modern society, we are really opening these fields to all gender and recognize that there is no monopoly of knowledge in favor of a certain gender. All right, let's now move on to our last and final item. So the first clue that we have is he is a French mathematician, scientist, and philosopher. He is generally regarded as the founder of modern philosophy. Second clue, he invented analytic geometry. And finally, final clue, his famous dictum is, I think, therefore I am. So who do you think this mathematician or scientist is? So we are now giving you 30 seconds for you to key in your answer in our comment section. All right, so we can now reveal this scientist or mathematician. So the personality we are looking here is no other than René Descartes. And René Descartes is a French mathematician and philosopher who was born in 1596. It was partly because of his contribution that Western philosophy and mathematics flourished. And in recognition of his contribution, he is often regarded as the founder or the father of modern philosophy. He is also considered as the precursor of rationalist school of thought. And his major contribution lies in bringing forth coordinate system in algebra and geometry that also bears his name. So this Cartesian coordinate system tended to explain the algebraic expression or equation through geometric shapes. And he invented the convention of representing unknown in the equations by the letters X, Y, and Z. And it was his work of calculus that was later used by Isaac Newton, thus evolving a new branch of mathematics. And besides that, he also invented the rule of signs to establish the positive and negative roots of polynomial. All right, so I hope this activity entices our viewers' mind and recalls some men and women of math and science. And so at this point, I think we are ready to listen to the discussion of our resource person that has something to do with math and science. So let us meet now our resource speaker who will shed light on teaching and learning in the new normal, regional strategies and initiatives for science and mathematics.
Ms. Jennifer Vivas is currently the Chief of the Curriculum and Learning Management Division of NCR since September of the current year. She joined the DepEd workforce in 2009 as classroom teacher. She was a recipient of Senator Kiko Pangilinan Scholarship at the University of the Philippines, where she completed both her diploma and master's in language and literacy education. She was also a former awardee of Australian Award in 2015, where she earned her diploma in industrial relations at De La Salle University.
In 2016, she completed her master's in human resource development at the University of Newcastle in New South Wales, Australia. The title of her re-entry action plan was the DepEd NCR Talent Management Program. Ms. Vivas is currently a candidate for Career Executive Service Eligibility Stage 4, and her dedication and commitment to serving the department is anchored on a strong belief that our labor is not for human masters, but for the glory of the Lord. So please welcome now the Chief Education Program Supervisor of the Curriculum and Learning Management Division of the DepEd National Capital Region, none other than Ms. Jennifer F. Vivas.
Hi everyone, how are you? Greetings from the National Capital Region. In this session, we will talk about teaching and learning in the new normal. I will be sharing with you regional strategies and initiatives for science and mathematics. So sit back, relax, and stay with me until the end of the session. Our session objectives are the following. First, identify strategies used in DepEd NCR that can be adapted in your region. Second, analyze how the underlying principles presented can be applied in your context. In this presentation, I will briefly discuss the situationer of DepEd NCR. These are the challenges that confronted us prior and during the pandemic. Then I will share with you some guiding principles and strategies we applied in addressing our challenges, most particularly in teaching mathematics and science in the new education platform. Prior to the pandemic, we were already dealing with a number of challenges like low performance in the national and international large-scale assessments, plus the fact that science and math have many competencies that are hard to teach and hard to learn. And this affects the performance of our learners. We knew that we need to upscale the competencies of our teachers if we want quality and if we want to close the gap. We were also confronted with insufficient laboratory space and equipment during that time. Given all those challenges, when the pandemic hit the country during the first quarter of school year 2020, the resiliency of the entire department was tested. In DepEd NCR, what we did was we made learning continue amidst the challenges of the pandemic by making sure that learning resources are available to all our learners, whether these are in digital or in printed format. We ensure that learners are in the school system attending classes, whether synchronous or asynchronous. The pandemic has taught us many lessons, including these ones. We've learned that distance learning lessened learners' interaction with their teachers and classmates. Therefore, this would entail that learners should know how to get feedback from his peers and also how to give one, and also to self-assess. We've learned also that remote learning requires self-directed learners. And this has been our goal in the K to 12, which is articulated in DepEd Order 21, series of 2019. But the challenge is that majority of our learners are not independent learners. Also, on the side, a big number of learners are low tech or no tech. This means they have no gadget and no access or limited access to internet, and therefore limits their access to synchronous learning. Another challenge on the part of learning facilitators is that they could not support learners in terms of content because majority of the parents are working and only the nannies or the grandparents are left to the children or an older sibling. And that is why we have this challenge. For this reason, in school year 2020, learners were just more reliant on the learning resources provided to them. In the case of math and science, we've known that availability of learning resources is not an assurance that our learners are indeed learning. We wanted to know first whether the MELCs were all covered in these learning areas, and if they were covered, the second thing we wanted to know is whether our learners developed the desired competencies. For these reasons, we conducted the MELCs audit and the assessment of learning outcomes using the SOLO framework. Although the assessment was voluntary in nature, it was well represented by our target test takers from key stage 2, 3 to 4. And these are the findings. Not all competencies were covered. The reason given was due to class suspensions and less contact time with the teacher due to the absence or poor internet connection. In math, the competencies that were not covered were mostly in higher grade, and this is alarming. While in science, the challenge also is the lack of laboratory equipment and space present in their homes. Now that you had a glimpse of our context, and probably you can already identify some similarity in yours, what you are seeing is our enhanced BELCP. It's called the DepEd NCR Lagged In Plus. The word Lagged In Plus is an acronym which means losses, gaps, and gains in distance education. Plus, it's now blended version 2. We recognize that in school year 2020, there were losses, particularly in the coverage of the most essential learning competencies. And from these losses, we identified some gaps. This provided us input in our planning for the current school year. We also noted that there were gains. For example, it was during this time that much needed partnerships were forged, which facilitated the easy transition of the region from conventional face-to-face to blended learning modalities that are more responsive to peculiar situations of NCR learners. We observed the outpouring of partners from both public and private sectors. For example, our partnership with Solar Entertainment Corporation made it possible for us to use TV as a modality, plus blended with digital or printed material for our Key Stage 1 learners. Aware of the losses and gaps and gains in distance education, and we knew that the new normal learning environment entails self-directed learners, we developed supplementary learning materials for our learners that will support them to become independent learners. And all exercises in these materials were treated as formative assessment. The learning activities sheets were made available as well across learning areas and serve as summative assessment across learning areas and key stages. And there were partners who provided us with learning resources where we mapped it with the MELCs and made it available as well to our learners. And so we conducted our quarterly MELCs audit during school year 2020-2021 to monitor and evaluate the implementation of our MELCs. These materials help develop independent learning behavior amongst our learners. The results of the MELCs audit has given us so much insight. We know that a sound triangulation of content, high quality teaching, and assessment is imperative for a successful learning to happen. We also know that integration is of key importance. So from the results of the MELCs audit in the previous year, the gaps that we found were mapped in the MELCs for the succeeding grade level. This gives the next grade level teacher inputs on the need to teach or cover requisite competencies prior to introducing another competency. We issued the definitive budget of work across learning areas and across key stages this school year. We also made sure that the blended modality where learners are attending are appropriate for them. We are now geared towards the preparation of the conduct of our mid-year assessment using the SOLO framework. We just conducted the reorientation this past couple of Saturdays. The key really is tapping the right persons, onboarding them, and empower them so that they share with our challenges and our own interventions as well. Now, taking the lesson from the previous year, gaps identified were addressed. Curriculum, instruction, and assessments were closely tied even in the operationalization of our academic ease in the National Capital Region. The third principle that I wanted to share with you is clear communication and advocacy among the key stakeholders of the department. We also engaged our key education stakeholders through a focus group discussion prior to the opening of classes on the implementation of academic ease. Appropriateness of modality in school year 2020, learning resources, and on how best we can implement academic ease this school year 2021. From the results of the focus group discussion, we issued a regional memorandum outlining the recommendations on how we can operationalize academic ease in NCR. We also find it fitting to hear the challenges that our learning facilitators are encountering while they are providing assistance to our key stage 1 learners. So we put in place a feedback mechanism and we call it the DepEd NCR Prime Pulso. Pulso is an acronym for paigtingin ang ugnayan ng learners, school at opisina ng kagawaran ng edukasyon, punong pangrehiyon. Feedback is important because through feedback, we can improve our system and we can know the real score among our learners. As a human resource advocate, I really believe that harnessing human resources is very important. This is what we did. So we tapped subject matter experts from our cadre of experts from teachers and education program supervisors in the development of our unified self-learning modules and multimedia learning materials, including the TV lessons. That is why at CLMD, majority of my supervisors were able to develop TV lessons, explainer videos, explaining the DVAU for the teachers and explaining how to use the weekly home learning plan for parents. I am also happy to share that in response to our big challenge in math and science, our intervention was capacitating our math and science teachers as well as education program supervisors in crafting real-world problems on various contexts with technology integration. And this is aligned with the ILSA. We also developed items for mid-year and exit assessment for grades 6, 10, and 12 that is based on Solo framework. Our strategy number 2 is alignment of learning resource with the MELCs and closing the gaps utilizing previous year's assessment results. The result of our LAMP last school year was very insightful. Learning area supervisors, particularly in mathematics and science, had utilized the results as basis for intervention. For example, to equip our learners with problem-solving skills, we launched the project, just like what I said, the crafting of math and science problems. These are anchored on real problems, similar to problem-based learning, and they integrated technology into it. We are seeing that technology will play a huge role in the assessment in the near future, so we are already preparing our learners for this challenge. We also aligned our DBA with the MELCs, and the gaps that we identified were already incorporated. And we came up with an explainer video for our parents on the use of weekly home learning plan, and we developed TV lessons locally through our DepEd Prime channel, and we have the MELCs Map learning resource and aligned with the audit results and the focus group discussion. Capacity building of math and science teachers on crafting this kind of assessment questions we believe are important. Our third strategy is leveraging on partnerships. We know that strengthened external partnerships, especially with the industries, to enhance the teaching and learning of STEM. For example, through IBM PTech, our learners in STEM are able to participate in a synchronous session. Participants are able to get badges, which is internationally recognized and can be used by the learners as additional credential, making them future job ready. These are only few of the partners that we cited here. To strengthen, we also had recently a partnership with Analytics Association of the Philippines, and they are eyeing to train to pilot it in our senior high school. This will prepare our learners to a job on analytics, even when they exit senior high school, or if they want to pursue in college, they can go to engineering. We also promoted the practice of doing integrative assessment to foster academic ease. We had to walk the talk. And we issued not just a regional memorandum, but operationalization of academic ease, giving solution to learner challenges. We learned from our school's division offices that this helped them craft their contextualized academic ease operationalization. And also, we promoted the utilization of weekly home learning plan, explaining to the parents how is this tied to DBAW and how it can help the learner be guided in his remote learning activities. So prior to the opening of classes, my team crafted their weekly home learning plan exemplar per learning area. It also reflects the implementation of academic ease for school year 2021, leaving the midweek or Wednesday to non-academic work. Instead, learners are allowed to do some enrichment activities. The changing times would need new skills and competencies among our teachers and even our learners. Therefore, we need to explicitly tell teachers to meet together, to talk more often, probably same grade level teachers, to integrate activities and assessment to help our learners see the big picture and not to overwhelm them with too many activities and too many tasks to do during asynchronous learning sessions. Anticipating what future job would require, we need to develop learners who possess the needed knowledge, skills, competencies, and most importantly, attitude. And this is called the soft skill. We need to foster critical thinking by creating opportunities for learners inside and outside the confines of their learning environment, particularly now that they are attending distance learning, and hopefully in the future, in the near future, they will be attending some of them face-to-face learning. We also need to take advantage of industry partners who can provide the technical training to both teachers and learners through job shadowing. And this is very effective. We have been doing this in TechBook, and this is also important in our science to address our challenge of unavailability of state-of-the-art equipment. If these are available in our partners, our teachers, not just the learners, can also learn. We also need to strategically connect and address gaps and intentionally develop 21st century skills amongst our learners. We also need to intentionally connect language, math, and science with other learning areas and use real-world problems and intentionally teach learners how to solve those and not to give them just answers. And so, what do we need to continue doing? We need to support learners to develop problem solving and critical thinking skills by setting a stage, by creating opportunities, by telling teachers give more formative assessments. And we also need to optimize available technology. In the absence of technology, we can be creative just to ensure that no one is left behind. It's also important that same grade level teachers are talking among themselves, designing the most relevant activities and assessment for their learners. Teachers need to be more facilitative, give timely response and feedback to learners. Teachers also need to give and receive feedback. Teachers also need to take care of themselves so that they can take care of their learners. I personally believe that aside from equipping our learners with hardcore skills and competencies in math and science, we as older guides should also help them develop the soft skills, that ability to solve problems and be able to gain that emotional strength, teaching them how to control and regulate their emotion. And a way to practice, develop critical thinking and problem solving skill is to allow them to solve real life problems and be not overwhelmed by the challenges happening in the world. Intentional thinking, coaching, and needs-based learner intervention strategies are key to their success in distance education. Thank you for listening.
So thank you so much, Miss Jennifer Vivas, for sharing concrete examples and practices of DepEd NCR. We hope our viewers are more motivated now in crafting their weekly home learning plans or the WHLP with appropriate strategies specifically for science and mathematics. And also some regions could also have as well adapt and contextualize some of NCR's initiatives that might also be useful to their teachers and learners in their region. So once again, thank you so much, Ma'am Jennifer Vivas. Okay, and so to our live audience on DepEd Teaches Facebook page and the rest of our social media platforms, don't forget to share your insights and comments using the hashtag I support DepEd Teaches and hashtag DepEd Teaches episode 43. You can also share your selfie post while you were listening in today's presentation. So we love to hear all your feedback.
Okay, so once again, thank you so much, Miss Jennifer Vivas. Few reminders, this is the first entry under the theme Teaching and Learning in the New Normal Strategies and Initiatives Across All Learning Areas. Don't forget to register, dear viewers. Next week is a continuation of our discussion around this theme. So if you need a recap, just visit our official Facebook page, DepEd Teaches. Don't forget to share, like, and follow. Once again, teachers, thank you so much for tuning here, and we hope to see you again next week.
On behalf of the curriculum and instruction strand, let us move forward together, for it is once said that great discoveries and improvement involve the cooperation of many minds. Just like here in DepEd Teaches that we promote, our mission is empowering teachers, enabling learners. A blessed afternoon, everyone.